Ladies and gentlemen, I want to ask you something simple. What if I told you that writing just 3 numbers on a piece of paper tonight could shift your energy, your focus, and maybe even your life? Sounds unbelievable, right? But let me take you on a journey. There's a number that carries a hidden power. That number is 999. Now, I'm not talking about magic tricks or superstition. I'm talking about symbolism, about mindset, about the way your subconscious reacts when you give it a signal of completion. See, in many traditions, 999 means endings that lead to new beginnings. It's like the final page of a book. Once you finish it, you're free to open a brand new story. But here's the problem. Most of us never close our old chapters. We keep rereading the same painful paragraphs. The job we lost, the relationship that broke, the dream we abandoned. We hold on, even when life is asking us to let go. That's why tonight, I want you to take a plain sheet of paper, write down 999, and watch what happens inside you. Why? Because writing it is an act of release. It tells your mind, I'm done with what no longer serves me. I'm ready for something better. It's like cleaning out your closet. When you throw out old clothes, you create space for new ones. When you release old baggage, you create space for miracles. Think about it. Have you ever held onto a cracked glass, afraid to let it go, even though your hands were bleeding? That's what many of us do with our past. But once we drop it, healing begins. 999 is the drop. Let me give you an example. A friend of mine was stuck in a toxic job. Every day she complained. Every day she dragged herself to work. She wrote down 999 one night, whispering to herself, I'm letting this chapter end. Within weeks, she got an unexpected offer in a field she actually loved. Did the numbers magically get her the job? No, but they changed her energy. They gave her permission to release. And when she released, opportunities could finally enter. So I'll ask you again, what are you holding on to? Is it anger? Fear? A memory that haunts you? Write 999 tonight. Release it. Watch what happens. Because the moment you let go of what is heavy, you rise. The moment you say goodbye to the wrong door, the right one appears. And maybe, just maybe, today could be the day your new chapter begins. Here are some key points related to this. 999 symbolizes completion, the end of old cycles and the beginning of new ones. Writing it down is a ritual of release that signals your mind to let go. Letting go creates space for fresh opportunities and growth. Holding on to the past is like carrying baggage that weighs you down. Release shifts your energy. New doors open when old ones close. Tonight, write 999 and watch what unfolds today. Have you ever noticed how life has a strange way of signaling when something is ending? It could be as simple as the last day of school, when you packed your books for the final time, closed the door behind you, and felt a mix of sadness and excitement. Or maybe it was that moment when a relationship ended, not with a loud explosion, but with quiet silence, a deep knowing inside that things could never go back to the way they were. Endings are everywhere in life, yet most of us resist them. We fight, we cling, we beg life to let things stay the same, even when every sign is pointing us toward change. That's why the number 999 is so powerful. It doesn't just represent a random digit, it whispers to us a message. It's time to let go. This chapter has served its purpose. A new beginning is waiting for you. When you think of 999, imagine it as the final mile of a marathon. You've run hard, you've struggled, you've sweated, but this number says, you're almost there. The finish line is in sight. Don't stop now. But unlike a finish line that marks the end of everything, 999 is different. It doesn't shut the story. It opens the door to another one. Think about a book you once loved. Maybe you read it late into the night, your eyes heavy, but your heart eager to see what happens next. And then, finally, you turn the last page. Did the story end? Yes. But was that the end of your reading journey? Not at all. That ending freed you to pick up another book, one that would take you on a brand new adventure. That's the spirit of 999. It's not death. It's not destruction. It's transition. It's the quiet but certain voice saying, something has been completed. Now you are free. Take a moment to think about your own life. Is there a chapter that feels like it's been dragging on for too long? Maybe at a job where you no longer feel alive, but you clock in every morning because the fear of leaving feels greater than the misery of staying. Maybe it's a friendship that used to bring laughter, but now only brings heaviness, arguments, or silence. Maybe it's even a version of yourself that you've outgrown, the one who plays small hides and accepts less than they deserve. 999 is a symbolic nudge to acknowledge that this part of your story is finished. It doesn't need to be carried anymore. When we ignore these signals, life often steps in to force endings for us. The company downsizes, the relationship collapses, the opportunity vanishes. We call it loss, but sometimes it's simply life saying, you didn't close the door, so I had to. I remember once speaking to a man who lost his business after 15 years. At first, he was devastated. Everything I built is gone, he said, his voice breaking. It's like I failed. But as he shared his story, something remarkable unfolded. He admitted that for the last 3 years, he had been miserable. His passion was gone. Every morning felt like a battle. He knew in his heart that he had outgrown that chapter, but he kept going because he feared the ending. He feared the number 999. Yet when the chapter was closed for him, space opened for something new. Within a year, he discovered a career that reignited his spirit. Looking back, he said, losing my business was the best ending that ever happened to me. It reminds me of a quote by Joseph Campbell. We must be willing to let go of the life we planned, so as to have the life that is waiting for us. That's what 999 symbolizes. It's a reminder that when one cycle ends, it is not the end of your life. It's the end of a season. And seasons must change, or else the world would never bloom again. Imagine if winter never ended. The cold would linger forever, flowers would never return, and life would be frozen in place. The ending of winter is the beginning of spring. That's 999. But here's the thing. We don't just resist endings in big life events. We resist them in small ways, too. We resist letting go of old clothes that don't fit, even though they clutter our space. We resist letting go of outdated beliefs, even when they suffocate our growth. We resist letting go of habits that drain us, telling ourselves, maybe tomorrow I'll change. We hold on, hold on, hold on. And while we hold on, we leave no room for the new. Think of your life as a cup. If the cup is full of stale, stagnant water, and you keep clutching it, no fresh water could be poured in. 999 is the act of emptying that cup. It's saying, I trust that fresh water will come. I trust that what is ahead of me is better than what is behind me. I once heard a woman describe writing 999 at a time when she was grieving. She had been carrying the weight of a past relationship for years, unable to move forward. One night, she sat quietly, lit a candle, and wrote 999 on a sheet of paper. As she stared at it, tears fell onto the page. She whispered, "This is done. This chapter is complete." She didn't know what tomorrow would look like, but in that moment, she gave herself permission to end the old. Within weeks, she felt lighter. Within months, she opened her heart to love again. Was it magic? No, it was the symbolic power of choosing an ending. That number gave her courage to say goodbye. And isn't that what most of us are afraid of? Goodbyes? We fear that endings mean emptiness, loneliness, or loss. But the truth is, endings mean freedom. Freedom to step into the unknown. Freedom to embrace the next chapter without dragging the dead weight of the old one. The beauty of 999 is that it doesn't ask you to erase your past. It honors it. It says, thank you for what you gave me. Thank you for what I learned. But now I release you. It's gratitude and closure in 3 simple digits. So when you write 999, you're not just scribbling numbers. You're telling your subconscious, I am ready. I accept the ending. I welcome what's next. And the moment you accept that, you begin to notice something extraordinary. Life responds. New opportunities appear. New energy flows in. It's almost as if the universe has been waiting, patiently holding gifts in its hands, whispering, I couldn't give these to you until you let go of what you were holding. 999 is a symbol of that letting go. It's the signpost at the end of the road that says, turn the page. A new road begins here. And every time you write it, you remind yourself that endings are not your enemy. They are your gateway to freedom. There is something almost mystical about the simple act of writing. A pen gliding across paper feels different from typing on a screen or speaking into the air. It's physical. It's intentional. It leaves behind a mark, something permanent that wasn't there before. And that's why writing down 999 is more than just scribbling numbers. It's a ritual, a signal, a conversation between you and your subconscious mind. When you press ink to paper, you're not just jotting down digits. You are engraving a message into your own psyche. This is the end. I'm letting go. I am free. Think back to the last time you wrote something truly meaningful. Maybe it was a love letter where your heart spilled out onto the page. Maybe it was a list of goals that gave you a spark of hope. Maybe it was a diary entry where you poured out pain you couldn't say aloud. Didn't it feel lighter afterward? That's the power of writing. It takes what's tangled up in the mind and gives it form, shape, and release. Writing 999 works the same way. It's not about the number itself. It's about the declaration it makes. It's like planting a flag in the ground and saying, this is the line. I am ready to move forward. A woman once told me a story of how she used this ritual during one of the darkest seasons of her life. She had been grieving the loss of a relationship that ended abruptly, leaving her heart in pieces. Every night she cried herself to sleep, replaying memories in her mind, begging the past to return. A friend told her, write 999 on paper. Do it tonight. It will help. At first she laughed. How could writing numbers on a page ease heartbreak? But one night, when her tears fell heavier than ever, she took a notebook, slowly wrote the numbers 999, and whispered, I release him. I release the pain. I release what is done. She repeated it until the tears ran dry. Something shifted. Not overnight, not like magic, but inside her a door had opened. She wasn't healed in a moment, but the writing became her ritual. Night after night, she wrote 999, and each time the weight lifted a little more. Months later, she said, it wasn't about forgetting him. It was about freeing myself. This is why rituals matter. Our minds are creatures of habit. We are constantly shaped by the signals we give ourselves. Think about how lighting a candle can create calm, how kneeling in prayer can create surrender, how even something as ordinary as brushing your teeth signals to your brain that the day has started or ended. Writing 999 is a ritual that signals closure. It says, the past is no longer holding me hostage. We often underestimate how deeply our subconscious clings to things. You may consciously say, I'm over that, but deep inside, there is still attachment, still resistance, still grief. That's why symbolic actions are powerful. They bypass logic and speak directly to the subconscious in a language it understands. Symbols, repetition, physical expression. Writing becomes that language. It transforms intention into action. I remember a man who struggled with guilt after losing money in a failed investment. He carried the shame for years, repeating to himself, I should have known better. It ate away at his confidence. He avoided opportunities, fearing he would fail again. One evening, during a workshop, he was asked to write down 999 and pair it with the phrase, this chapter is complete. I forgive myself. He resisted at first. It felt too simple, too silly. But eventually he wrote it, and something remarkable happened. He wept, not because the numbers were magic, but because he finally gave himself permission to let go. He told me later. For the first time in years, I felt like I wasn't chained to my mistake anymore. I could breathe again. Why does this matter? Because carrying unresolved emotions is like dragging around heavy luggage. It slows you down. It makes every step harder. And the strange thing is, most of us carry that luggage even when we don't have to. Writing 999 is like setting the bags down at the side of the road and saying, I don't need to carry this weight anymore. Think of the way monks create sand mandalas, beautiful, intricate art made from colored sand. They spend days crafting it, and then, once it's finished, they sweep it away. Why? Because it's a ritual of impermanence. It teaches the mind that nothing lasts forever, and that beauty can be released without sorrow. Writing 999 is your personal mandala. It's the sweeping away of what has already served its purpose. There's a line from Paulo Coelho that says, "Closing cycles, not because of pride, incapacity, or arrogance, but simply because that no longer fits your life." That's exactly what writing 999 communicates. You are not erasing your past. You are simply saying, this doesn't belong to the future I'm creating. And here's the deeper truth. The ritual is less about the numbers and more about the decision behind them. Anyone can write digits on a page. But when you write them with presence, when you write them with intention, when you write them as a declaration of release, your subconscious listens. It shifts your energy. It stops gripping the old and starts preparing for the new. Imagine you're standing at a river, clutching onto a heavy stone. Your hands ache, your arms tremble, but still you hold on. You tell yourself you need it. You tell yourself you can't let it go. But the moment you open your hands and drop the stone into the water, you feel relief. You're lighter. Writing 999 is like opening your hands. It's the moment you say, I trust the flow. I don't need to hold this anymore. And here's what's fascinating. When you create that release, life often responds in unexpected ways. A phone call comes from someone who opens a new door. A job opportunity appears. A relationship blossoms. It doesn't always happen immediately, but there's a pattern. When you clear space, the new has somewhere to land. Writing 999 is a way of clearing space, not just on the page, but in your heart. So if you ever doubt its power, remember this. It's not about superstition. It's about symbolism. It's about giving your subconscious a message strong enough to override the fear of endings. Because the truth is, we don't just need to think our way out of the past. We need to act our way out. Writing is action. Writing is movement. Writing is release. And every time you sit with a pen, every time you write 999, you're choosing freedom over fear, release over resistance, and possibility over pain. Have you ever walked into a room so cluttered that you could barely move? Boxes stacked against the walls, clothes piled on the floor, old furniture pushed into every corner. At first, you tell yourself, it's fine, I'll make it work. But eventually, the air feels heavy. There's no room to breathe, no space to stretch, no place for anything new. Life often works the same way. When we hold on to the old, to what no longer serves us, we create clutter inside ourselves. And just like that room, we leave no space for something new to enter. That is why letting go is not just about release. It's about creation. It's about creating space for fresh opportunities, for growth, for miracles that couldn't arrive while you were still holding on to the past. Think of a gardener tending to her plants. Every spring, she clears out the dead leaves, the withered branches, the soil that no longer has nutrients. If she didn't, the garden would choke itself. Nothing new could grow because the old would take up all the room. Letting go in our lives works the same way. We are the garden. And the moment we clear out what's dead, what's over, what's heavy, we create fertile ground where something vibrant can grow. I once knew a man who clung desperately to an old dream. In his 20s, he had started a band, and for years, music was his whole life. But as time went on, the band fell apart. The passion wasn't there anymore, and the opportunities dried up. Yet he couldn't let go. He held on to the dream like it was oxygen, refusing to admit it had run its course. For nearly a decade, he carried this burden, saying no to other possibilities because he was still waiting for the music career to rise again. One night, broken and tired, he sat with a journal and wrote 999. It was his way of saying, this chapter is complete. I'm ready to let go. Within months, he started a small business that combined creativity with leadership, something he had never considered before. Looking back, he said, I couldn't see the opportunity because I was too busy staring at a closed door. This is the danger of not letting go. We blind ourselves to the doors already open. Have you ever noticed how you can be so fixated on one thing that you don't notice the rest of the world moving around you? It's like walking down the street while staring at your phone. You miss the sunlight, the flowers, the people smiling at you. Life offers opportunities in the same way. But if we're clinging too tightly to what's gone, our hands are too full to receive them. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean dismissing the value of what was. It simply means acknowledging that its time has passed. Imagine a tree in autumn. The leaves turn gold, red, and brown, and eventually they fall. The tree doesn't resist. It doesn't cry, "Why must I lose my leaves?" It lets them drop, knowing that in spring, new ones will grow. The tree trusts the cycle of life. In the same way, we must trust that when something leaves us, something new is waiting to bloom. There's a story I once heard about a woman who had dreamed of being a dancer. She trained for years, gave her whole youth to it, but after severe injury, she could no longer perform. For months she felt empty, purposeless, as though her life had ended. But one day, she made a decision to let go of the dream of being on stage. She started teaching young children the art of dance instead. At first, it was painful because it wasn't what she imagined for herself. But over time, she discovered joy greater than she had ever felt performing. Her students flourished under her guidance, and she realized, this is my new purpose. This is my growth. If she had never let go, she would have remained in grief. By letting go, she created space for a different, yet equally beautiful opportunity. It reminds me of something the author Eckhart Tolle once said, "Sometimes letting things go is an act of far greater power than defending or hanging on." Hanging on feels strong, but often it's just fear disguised as strength. True strength is the courage to open your hands, release what is no longer meant for you, and trust that something better will take its place. We often fear letting go because we confuse emptiness with loss. We think, if I let go, I'll have nothing. But that's not true. Letting go creates openness, and openness is the birthplace of growth. Imagine your life as a house. Every room filled with old, broken furniture, chairs that wobble, tables that collapse, couches that have lost their shape. As long as those remain, you cannot bring in the beautiful new pieces that fit the life you dream of. But the moment you clear the rooms, space appears. And in that space, you can design a new environment that reflects who you are now. Think about relationships. So many people stay in toxic friendships or romances out of fear of being alone. But in reality, staying in what drains you only ensures you never meet the people who could uplift you. It's like keeping your front door locked while amazing guests are knocking outside, waiting to enter. You hear the knock but never open because your arms are still wrapped around what needs to leave. A friend of mine once told me about her fear of ending a long relationship that no longer brought happiness. She stayed for years, convincing herself it was better than being alone. Finally, she gathered the courage to end it, writing 999 on paper as a private farewell ritual. She said it felt like tearing her heart apart, but within months, she met someone who valued her deeply, someone who supported her growth instead of stifling it. She later said, "If I hadn't let go, I would never have known what love could truly feel like." And isn't that the essence of growth? Not just replacing what is lost, but evolving into someone new. Because of it, every time we let go, we make room not only for new opportunities, but for a new version of ourselves. The self who learns resilience after heartbreak. The self who discovers courage after failure. The self who finds joy in unexpected places after release. When you write 999, you are not just ending a chapter. You are creating space inside you. A space that says, I am ready for what's next. I am open to growth. I am open to life surprises. And it's in that space where miracles appear. Because growth cannot happen in a mind that is overcrowded with old wounds and stale energy. Growth needs room to breathe. So letting go is not weakness. It is not loss. It is the most powerful form of creation. It is the soil being cleared for seeds. It is the canvas being wiped clean for a new masterpiece. It is the music ending so another song can begin. And when you finally make peace with endings, you'll see what was always waiting for you. The opportunity to step into a life richer, freer, and far more expansive than the one you were clinging to. Imagine walking through an airport with a suitcase that is so heavy you can barely drag it across the floor. The handle cuts into your hand, your back aches, and your pace slows to a crawl. People pass by with ease, moving quickly to their gates, while you struggle under the weight of what you chose to carry. That is what holding on to the past feels like. Every memory, every mistake, every regret, every grudge, it all piles into the bag, and though you could set it down, you keep dragging it behind you. It's invisible to the eye, but you feel it every single day. We all carry baggage. Some of it is obvious, like heartbreaks that left scars. Some of it is subtle, like words someone spoke years ago that you still replay in your mind. The truth is, the past is heavy. It's meant to stay behind you, but when you hold on to it, you make your present harder and you make your future smaller. The longer you drag it, the more exhausted you become. And the saddest part? Most of us don't even realize how heavy we are until we finally let go. I once spoke to a woman who carried the pain of betrayal for nearly 20 years. Her husband had left her, suddenly and cruelly, and though she built a new life on the outside, on the inside, she was still carrying the weight of his absence. She would tell herself, "I'm fine," but every new relationship collapsed because she couldn't stop dragging the old one behind her. One night, she tried the ritual of writing 999. She wrote again and again, whispering, "I release this weight. I release this baggage." She told me later that she cried for hours, not because of what she lost, but because she realized how long she had carried it. She said, "I didn't know how heavy it was until I finally set it down." This is what baggage does. It disguises itself as part of who we are. We tell ourselves, "This is just my story. This is just how life is for me." But in reality, it's not who we are. It's what we're carrying. There's a difference. And until you recognize that difference, you'll keep walking through life slower, heavier, smaller than you were ever meant to be. Think about it this way. A bird cannot fly while clutching a stone in its claws. It doesn't matter how strong its wings are, the weight keeps it grounded. The moment it drops the stone, its wings do what they were always meant to do. Many of us are birds clutching stones. We were born to rise, but our grip on the past keeps us stuck. I once heard a story about a professor who walked into a classroom holding a glass of water. The students thought he was about to ask the famous question about whether it's half empty or half full. But instead, he smiled and asked, "How heavy is this glass?" The students shouted answers. 8 ounces, a pound, 2 pounds. The professor shook his head. It doesn't matter how heavy it is. What matters is how long I hold it. If I hold it for a minute, it's light. If I hold it for an hour, my arm aches. If I hold it all day, my arm feels paralyzed. The weight never changes, but the longer I hold it, the heavier it feels. That's what happens when you hold on to the past. That story has stayed with me because it's true for all of us. A single memory, a single regret, a single wound might not feel unbearable in the beginning, but carry for years and it breaks you down. You stop trusting. You stop loving fully. You stop believing in possibilities. The past takes root in your mind and convinces you that life cannot be any different. But the reality is, the weight is optional. You don't have to keep holding it. Letting go of baggage doesn't mean pretending the past never happened. It doesn't mean denying the pain. It means choosing not to carry it anymore. It means saying, "Yes, this hurt me. Yes, this shaped me. But it does not own me." That's the power of writing 999. It is you placing the suitcase down and walking away lighter, freer, and more open. A friend of mine once described her past like carrying bricks in a backpack. Every disappointment, every insult, every failure became another brick she tossed in. She said she felt proud at first, like she was strong enough to carry it all. But eventually, she realized strength wasn't about carrying the bricks. It was about knowing when to put them down. She wrote 999 on paper, tore it into pieces, and burned it in a small fire pit in her yard. As the ashes rose into the night sky, she said it felt as though the backpack had vanished from her shoulders. She laughed through tears, saying, "I thought I was supposed to be strong. I didn't realize that true strength is setting myself free." And isn't that the hardest thing for us? We think holding on makes us strong. We think clinging to our pain honors it, that if we let it go, we are somehow minimizing what we went through. But strength is not clinging. It's releasing. It's saying, this chapter will not define the rest of my book. We all know people who are still stuck in a moment from 10, 20, 30 years ago. The job they lost, the betrayal they suffered, the opportunity they missed. It's written on their faces, in the heaviness of their voices. They live in the present, but they are fueled by the past. And what happens? Life passes them by. New opportunities knock, but they don't hear them. Joy stands at the door, but they don't open it. All because their hands are too busy holding old luggage. There's a line from Maya Angelou that says, "You may not control all the events that happen to you, but you can decide not to be reduced by them." Baggage reduces us. It shrinks us down to a smaller version of ourselves. But when we let it go, we reclaim our full size, our full spirit, our full wingspan. Imagine yourself walking without it. No suitcase, no backpack, no heavy stones. Just you, lighter than you felt in years. Imagine the energy that would free up, the creativity that would flow, the love you could give and receive. Imagine how many doors you could walk through if your hands were finally empty. That is why letting go of the past is not a loss. It's liberation. It's stepping into the present unburdened. It's walking toward the future with open arms. And when you choose to set down the baggage, you discover what was waiting for you all along. Freedom, joy, and the chance to write a new story that is no longer chained to the old one. Have you ever noticed how the atmosphere in a room changes when someone walks in with a heavy heart? You can feel it without a word being spoken. Their presence carries weight, and it affects everyone around them. The same is true in reverse. When someone enters with lightness, with joy, with openness, the room feels brighter, as if the very air is shifted. That is what happens when we release. Our energy changes, and as our energy changes, the world around us begins to respond in ways we could not imagine before. We often think opportunities are purely external, like random gifts handed out by fate. But the truth is, opportunities are deeply connected to our energy. When you hold on to the old, your energy is heavy, closed, and resistant. When you let go, your energy becomes lighter, open, and magnetic. It's as if invisible doors that were always there suddenly reveal themselves, because you're finally in a state to see them. I once knew a man who stayed bitter after losing his job. For months, he carried anger like a badge of honor. "They treated me unfairly," he would repeat to anyone who listened. He filled his days with complaints, his nights with worry, and his mornings with resentment. And nothing changed. No job offers came, no ideas sparked, no solutions appeared. Then one day, after a long talk with a friend, he realized he was poisoning his own chances. That night, he wrote 999 on paper, as though closing the chapter of bitterness. He said out loud, "I release this. I release the anger. I release the weight." The next week, he began approaching life differently. He smiled more. He reached out to people he had ignored. Within a month, an unexpected opportunity arrived through a connection he'd forgotten about. He told me, "Nothing happened until I changed my energy. When I let go, life responded. This is not magic, it's alignment." Think about it. When you carry bitterness, fear, or regret, your posture changes, your tone changes, your decisions change. You say no when you should say yes. You look down when you should look up. You hesitate when you should leap. But when you release, your posture straightens, your voice softens, your decisions become bolder. And that shift, though invisible to the eye, is visible to life itself. People notice. Opportunities notice. The universe notices. Have you ever cleaned your home and noticed how different the energy feels? Suddenly you breathe easier. You walk lighter. You even think clearer. That's because the external environment reflects the internal one. Releasing the clutter within has the same effect. It clears the space inside you, and in that clarity, you begin to see doors you couldn't before. There's a story about a woman who had dreamed of starting her own business, but always hesitated. She clung to the security of her corporate job. Even though it drained her, deep down, she knew it was time to move on. But fear kept her locked in. One evening, after journaling about her frustrations, she decided to try the ritual of writing 999. She wrote it over and over, whispering, "I release the fear. I release the old chapter." The next morning, she woke with a strange sense of peace. It wasn't that her circumstances had changed overnight. It was her energy. A week later, she was introduced to a mentor who guided her into launching her first project. Within a year, she was thriving in her own business. She said, "The door was always there, but I couldn't see it until I let go of the fear holding me back." This is the essence of energy. What we hold on to becomes a lens through which we view the world. If you hold on to anger, the world looks hostile. If you hold on to regret, the world looks limited. If you hold on to fear, the world looks dangerous. But when you release, the lens clears. Suddenly the same world looks filled with possibilities. The doors were never locked. Your energy simply made them invisible. It reminds me of something Wayne Dyer once said. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Release changes the way you look at things. It's like turning a key in the lock of perception. And once your energy is different, life shows up differently. A friend of mine told me about her journey with grief. She had lost someone dear, and for years held on to the pain like a shadow. She wore it as part of her identity, as if letting go would mean forgetting to love. But the weight became unbearable, closing her off from joy. One day, she sat by the ocean, wrote 999 on a slip of paper, and let the waves carry it away. She whispered, "I release the grief, but I keep the love." Something shifted that day. She still remembered, still cherished, but her energy softened. She smiled again. New friendships blossomed. Opportunities she had once ignored began to flow in. She later said, "When I released the grief, I didn't lose the love. I just opened myself to live again." This is the doorway release creates. It's not about erasing what was, but about making space for what is. When you hold on tightly, your fists are clenched, unable to grasp anything new. When you release, your hands open, ready to receive. And the moment your energy opens, new doors begin to swing wide. Think about relationships. How many people stay tangled in the pain of an old love, unable to see the new one standing in front of them? It's not that there is no one else. It's that their energy is still married to the past. But the moment they release, the door opens to someone who is perhaps always waiting. Someone who can love them the way they deserve. Think about opportunities. How many dreams are delayed because someone is clinging to failure, convinced they are not capable? But the moment they release the old failure, their energy shifts to possibility. And possibility attracts possibility. We often talk about luck as if it's random, but luck is often just alignment meeting opportunity. And alignment comes when your energy is free, light, and open. That's why release is so powerful. It's not about what you lose. It's about what you gain. Imagine yourself walking through a long hallway filled with doors. Some are closed, some are open, some you don't even notice. If you carry bitterness, regret, or fear, you walk with your head down, eyes shut, convinced there are no doors at all. But the moment you release, it's as if the hallway lights up. You see doors you missed. You see handles you can turn. You realize the hallway was never empty. It was your energy that made it dark. That is why writing 999 or any ritual release is so powerful. It's a signal to your mind and spirit that you're ready for light, ready for doors, ready for the new. The numbers themselves don't create the opportunities. Your energy does. And when your energy shifts, the world around you shifts with it. So when you let go, remember this. You are not just ending something. You are igniting something. You are turning the key to doors that were invisible before. And once they open, you'll wonder why you carried the old weight for so long, when freedom was always just one release away. There's something almost magical about doing something simple with intention. We often look for big, dramatic gestures to change our lives. Quitting jobs, moving cities, chasing opportunities halfway across the world. Yet sometimes the most powerful shifts come from something so small, so subtle, that it almost feels insignificant. Writing 3 numbers on a piece of paper. Just 999. Tonight, when the world quiets, when the noise of the day fades and you are left alone with your thoughts, imagine the power in that simple act. Imagine sitting at your desk, or at the kitchen table, or even curled up in bed with a notebook. You take a pen in your hand, and as the ink touches the page, you write it slowly, deliberately. 9, 9, 9. With each stroke, you're telling yourself, this is the end of what no longer serves me. This is the closure I've been avoiding. This is me stepping into something new. It doesn't feel like much at first. It's just numbers on paper. But then something begins to shift in you, because intention transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. Just like lighting a candle can turn an ordinary evening into a sacred ritual, writing 999 transforms a blank page into a doorway. It's like saying to yourself, I am ready now. And readiness is a powerful state. Life responds to readiness. Think about it. How many times have you said you want to change, but deep down you weren't really ready? You said you wanted a better relationship, but you kept calling the same person who hurt you. You said you wanted success, but you kept holding on to the old habits that sabotage you. You said you wanted peace, but you refused to let go of the grudges you carry like armor. Readiness doesn't come from words. It comes from action, no matter how small. Writing 999 tonight is an action. It's proof to yourself that you are ready to close the old and step into the new. I once heard a story of a woman who carried years of regret. She had left her dreams behind to follow a path that wasn't hers, and the bitterness weighed on her every day. One evening, feeling hopeless, she came across the idea of writing 999 as a symbol of release. Skeptical but desperate, she decided to try. She lit a small candle, sat down with her journal, and wrote the numbers again and again. 999, 999, 999. She whispered as she wrote, I release regret. I welcome peace. That night, she slept better than she had in months. The next day, she woke with a strange sense of lightness, as if a knot in her chest had begun to loosen. Nothing external had changed yet, but her inner world had shifted, and within weeks, she began taking steps toward a new dream. It wasn't the numbers that created the dream. It was her intention, her release, her energy opening to possibility. But the act of writing 999 gave her the doorway to begin. Maybe tonight will be that doorway for you. Picture yourself writing it down, and then imagine what today could bring as a result. Perhaps today is when you notice a chance encounter that could change your path. Perhaps today is when you finally feel courage rising in your chest. Perhaps today is when the heavy silence inside you gives way to clarity. Because here's the truth. When you shift within, the world outside reflects it back to you. The opportunities don't suddenly appear out of thin air. They were always there. But your energy changes how you see them and how they see you. I know someone who tried this ritual during a time of heartbreak. She felt broken, as if her world had ended. That night, instead of drowning in tears, she wrote 999 on a piece of paper and placed it under her pillow. She whispered, I release this pain. I welcome healing. She didn't believe anything would happen. But the next morning, she woke with a sliver of hope. Just a sliver. Enough to get out of bed. Enough to take a walk. Enough to breathe a little deeper. That was the beginning of her healing. Later, when she looked back, she said, it wasn't the paper that healed me. It was the permission I gave myself when I wrote those numbers. Permission to let go, to move on, to trust life again. There's a reason rituals have existed for centuries. Humans have always needed ways to symbolize change, to mark transitions, to signal to the mind and heart that something new has begun. Writing 999 is one such ritual. It may seem modern, but it carries the same ancient truth. We need signs, we need gestures, we need anchors to the invisible shifts happening within us. By writing it tonight, you anchor your intention in the physical world. And once something is anchored in reality, it begins to ripple outward. What would happen if you wrote it with complete focus, even just once? What would happen if you wrote it and truly believed, for even a few minutes, that you were releasing everything that weighed you down? Would you walk differently today? Would you smile more? Would you notice a door that you didn't see yesterday? That's how it works. Tiny shifts on the inside that create giant ripples on the outside. Think about the times in your life when you made small, but symbolic changes. Maybe you rearranged your room and suddenly felt more productive. Maybe you gave away old clothes and suddenly felt free. Maybe you decided one day to speak kindly to yourself instead of critically, and suddenly the world seemed kinder. Writing 999 tonight is the same. It's symbolic. But symbols shape our reality because they speak directly to the subconscious, where change truly begins. So imagine tonight, sitting with pen and paper, the world around you quiet. You write 999, and as you do, you feel yourself letting go of fear, of regret, of what-ifs, of heavy change you didn't even realize you were carrying. You place the paper somewhere safe, maybe under your pillow, maybe on your desk, maybe folded in your pocket, and then you go to sleep. You don't need to force anything. You don't need to demand results. You simply trust. And when you wake, watch what today brings. Watch how your energy feels lighter. Watch how people respond differently. Watch how possibilities that were once invisible suddenly come into view. The world has a way of meeting you halfway when you show it you're ready. Tonight, when you write 999, you're not just writing numbers. You're opening a dialogue with life. You're saying, I'm ready to release. I'm ready to receive. I'm ready for the next chapter. And life, in its quiet, mysterious way, listens. It always does that. So tonight, don't just listen. Don't just nod. Don't just think about it and move on. Tonight, take the paper, take the pen, and write it. Write 999. Write it with intention. Write it with belief. Write it with courage. Because the truth is, change doesn't come to those who wait. It comes to those who declare they are ready. And tonight, with every line you write, you are declaring to life itself, I am ready. I am done carrying what was. I am opening to what can be. Do it tonight, and tomorrow will not look the same. Do it tonight, and you'll feel something shift within you. Do it tonight, and doors you never noticed will begin to open. 999 is not just a number. It is an ending. It is a beginning. It is a choice. So I ask you, will you carry the same weight another day, another week, another year? Or will you choose to release it now? Will you step into the life waiting for you? Or will you keep standing at the doorway, afraid to walk through? The time is not tomorrow. The time is not someday. The time is tonight. The time is now. Write 999 and watch what happens today. Because sometimes the smallest act can open the greatest chapter. That your support means everything. If this resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe. And remember this. Write 999 tonight, because when you end what holds you back, you begin what was always meant for you. Thank you for being here. See you in the next one.